Hey everybody, welcome to Records of Evil, a D&D live stream show that hopefully you're joining us this morning for some amazing villainous work here. Well, as usual, I am joined by this motley crew of cultists and villains who are ready to bring their evil. Therzee, how's Therzee doing?
Therzee is pretty much ready to steal one of these big tall glass buildings and turn it into the new evil lair. It's much fancier than the old one.
I mean, the other old one wasn't a rock, so...
Yeah, it didn't have a good view, you know?
No. Mishka, how's Mishka doing with everything?
She's frazzled, but she's pretty excited to start building things up again.
Yeah.
Hoping that the museum actually does something interesting.
And how about Versailles? How you doing with this? You're muted.
She is very... No, I'm not.
Oh. Oh, I thought you were muted for a second because it sounds like you're talking.
No, yeah, she is, not sure what to make of all of this still.
That's a good way of describing it. So if you missed last week, our group found themselves in a hotel on the edge of the desert. Quite literally, that's what it's called, the edge of the desert motel. Spending a night getting used to the trappings of this different society. In the morning, they wandered into town. And upon reaching town, they managed to find what would be a cash for gold place. After making some quick work of trading in some of their gold for, I think we said ruples. God, it's been a couple weeks, so my brain is like, liras. I said liras. See? I'm glad I have notes. Anyway. Anyway, they got some lira. And then they headed to a pawn shop where they got a... Oh, they got a gun and a cell phone. And they sort of know how to use both. Sort of. The gun, it looks like a very different version of a flintlock, which one of the characters had heard about. And probably seen at least with one of the pirates in Kalimport, a major trading group with Lantan even, the source of smoke powder and these things. So it's like, oh, neat. It's similar, yet different. And the cell phone was just weird, and it took them a bit to understand what this is. The magic that doesn't detect a magical box. Anyway. They went to the visitor center and learned where the museum is, and they're getting on the bus now that they've gotten bus passes to the museum. And that's where we enter in. So, the trip on the bus machine is...
Before we start, I want to ask...
Sure.
Because my character has basically a tabard and a shield that both have the symbol of Asmodeus on it.
Yes.
Did either of you comment on that or do anything about that, or am I still walking around with that? Because my character doesn't care.
Oh, my character absolutely does not care. I was going to make a comment just now, she's the most single-tracked person, but she knows the most out of the three of us. So it's a mess.
Okay. Very well. I was just curious about that.
I mean, you're gonna get some funny looks from the people, this dwarven gentleman kind of opens up the door to the bus and kind of so he's kind of on a slightly raised seat because he's a little short, not too short, so it just looks like the seat's been jacked up a little bit for operating this device. And then he kind of looks over at you, looks you over. Are those real? Pointing to your melee weapons.
You don't carry any?
Look, you're gonna have to... I don't know if there's any specific laws against that. I don't think there are, but if you're gonna carry them, you have to leave them at the front until you're ready to leave.
Then I shall travel at the front.
I mean, like, right next to me.
Well, then I shall travel next to you. I'm not letting them out of my sight.
You can sit, like, he, like, points back a little bit, like, you can sit right there and just see them. But you're gonna have to leave them up here.
I'm gonna slowly take off my stuff and say, well, don't try anything funny.
It's like, it's the same look you're probably giving him, he's probably giving you of, like, what funny things are you going to try?
Yeah, I comply.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mishka just carefully puts her things down and shuffles over to his...
Yeah,
It doesn't matter much to me. I have a 1d8 bite attack, so...
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll be sitting, like, in the upper part of the bus where there's those, like, side seats rather than the, like, normal, like, road seats, where you can see, like, a bunch of people in the road seats towards the back. There's, like, a couple elderly people here, like, you know, like, an old-looking elf who's chatting up a couple of humans. They're all, like, looking very elderly. There's a goblin woman with like, 3 children. On one of the seats, like, nearby to you, where all the children are crying loudly.
Public transport.
Mm-hmm. So, the bus will then start moving. It'll be a different kind of experience than you had in the car beast, like this bus beast, which is much larger. It's like, you can feel a lot more power almost from it, because it's getting up to that speed similar to that of the car beast, you know, quickly. You can tell, like, it's also seems to maintain the rules of the lights, that as the lights tell it when to move and to stop. As you can also then kind of observe the city in a different kind of way. You can look out into the large, tall buildings, and rather than just kind of walking next to them, and you're sort of still concentrating on being in front of you, you can definitely get, like, a little bit more of relaxing and just watching. And you can see that there are lots of people out now. The streets are fairly packed with people walking the little side areas that seem to be for people rather than car beasts, and many car beasts are out. In fact, there seems to be, like, there's a lot of, like, these weird, like, noise that, like, you know, it's like the calls of the car beasts as they're, like, you know, roaring to each other in the midst of this, like, looks like almost a herd of them traveling. It does seem to slow things down for going anywhere. Once after a little while, though, the bus beast kind of pulls over to the side, and the driver will kind of, or the person that seems to be wrangling it will call out, you know, the location you're at. Which, if any of you, since you guys did look at the map and that there were more than one, you can tell that this place probably isn't where you're going to. You think? Probably Vercel, you more would recognize what this seems similar to. You did a little bit more traveling, so you know you can get passage on a wagon, that it stops at multiple towns. That this seems similar to that, only this is stopping multiple places in this very large city. So maybe the city is now, Kalimport has grown to the size that it's multiple towns big. It seems like that from what you've seen. This is far bigger than anything you've seen, or even any of you have heard about.
Yeah, I wait to hear basically anything that sounds like what I, looked at for our street.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, they said, like, street names and...
Yeah. It will be a little bit, and they will call out, eventually, though, they will call out, like, downtown, museums, docks, a couple other things, and it will sound similar to what you were looking for.
Yeah.
So you've been on the...
I mean, clearly if they say museums, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I stand up to go.
Mm-hmm. Hey, don't forget your stuff. I don't have any place to put it.
I do not forget my stuff.
Quickly grabs her things and scurries off.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure to give the bus wrangler a good glance in case he's still planning something.
He's just gonna again keep that, like, the look has changed to be like, you know, like that, like, you without an insight check, you can tell it's that kind of like accusatory glance of like, what is with you people? Definitely just sort of eyes you up a little bit. So you find yourself in an area of town very different from when you were in what was called Midtown. Midtown was a lot of those massive buildings where around you found that visitor center. This area here, the buildings are much smaller, and things seem a lot nicer, I would almost say. You can tell that there is, like, you're kind of, like, up a little bit on a kind of, like, a little bit of a hill, so you do get a little bit of a view down towards what are the docks. You can sort of see them. You can see that to the one side appears to be massive ships. Bigger than anything you've ever seen. Like, you've seen some, like, big frigates and stuff. At least, God. At least, I remember who, Therzee, you've at least seen them. You know, you've seen some big frigates. These things are, like, 4 or 5 times bigger than the biggest frigate you've seen. So they are massive ships. You can also see that there is, like, to the to more, if you would go down that way to your right, you can see a lot of smaller docks with a lot of small vessels that you can see some of them, but the buildings block the rest of the way. You're actually next to this looks to be a little park. Again, Therzee, you probably would recognize this a little bit more because you're used to the upper part of Kalimport, the rich part of Kalimport. You probably at least had walked through there a couple of times, staking some things out, and they have little walking gardens for the public. This is seemingly open, and you don't see any signs of witchery, but it seems very similar to that.
Okay.
You know, there's a number of large buildings here that look like they could be temples or colleges or something of the like. They're spread out, so maybe one of those is the museum you're looking for. You can't see sight of all the buildings in the area.
In this strange new time, I wonder if people finally came to their senses and decided to start worshipping Asmodeus. So I curiously, more curious than anything else, look to see if there's any temple devoted to Asmodeus.
There doesn't seem to be any direct temples, but give me perception, actually, just to, like, take a look around at stuff.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you really can't tell much. The little nature, like, park, garden here, well, technically it's a park, but, you know, the little garden area here looks very nice. You're frankly surprised to see anything like that. For this area that it seems as soon as you moved out of the desert was just stone and glass and metal with occasional bits of wood. This is like the first sign of actual any nature. It seems very well maintained. You know, this is not wild nature. And this is only a small section of it. You're not even sure how large this entire little park area is, but it's distracting.
Mm-hmm.
It does not seem to fit with the entire idea that this is like, you know, a large desert area. Definitely, too.
Yeah.
And, like, as I said, Therzee, you've seen something like this, but it was much smaller. And, you know, this is much larger, definitely. Because, yes, water problems at the edge of a desert.
Does it have any trees in there?
Yes. It's got trees. It seems to have some kind of path. A similar stone that you saw to the streets. That seem to be, like, kind of leading through it. There are a number of signs along this path. There's a couple of small ponds. There seems to be a few areas where they may have, like, where there's some bushes and stuff, where you're not sure if these bushes are supposed to be there, or they've been let to grow there, and they just haven't gotten rid of them yet. You're not sure how they work this place, or what the purpose of a lot of it is. There also seems to be a strange like, square area you can kind of see, where you can notice that the ground is made of wood that you might see in, like, a logging area, like a sawmill. And then it's got these weird things on it that small children are playing on. You're guessing either their guardians or parents are watching over them, as there are a number of seats placed around this square thing covered in the leavings of a sawmill.
I'm gonna see if I can spot anything from up there. So
Okay.
I gotta climb a tree.
Okay. Give me an athletics then, please. Yeah, you can find a tree you can climb pretty decently. You climb it up. Versal, Mishka, you can notice that there's a couple of glances towards Therzee, but none of them seem to be like, you know, anything of, like, you normally get. It'd be more like, why are they climbing it? Like, kind of like quizzical of, like, what's that person doing kind of looks. But Therzee, you can climb the tree all right and get towards the top of it. You can give me a perception then. Thank you.
Ooh.
Yeah. So you take a look around.
Seeing lots of things.
Yeah. You get an idea of how big this little park is first. It's pretty big. Pretty decent size. You can see that it looks to be, like, surrounded by streets. Like, you actually chose really well that you got a tree that was just a little taller than somebody else that you can get to the top of safely. Like, you were really smart with the tree you did. You didn't even know that you were that, you know, you kind of were a little bit of a guess, a little bit of, like, you know, judgment, but you actually guessed really well. You can kind of also take a look at the surrounding buildings and area. You get a little bit more of a view of the dock, as I said, down to the area, and see that there is a couple of large buildings down there that are very unusually shaped, but none of them seem to scream out at you. You can see that the buildings that were near you that looked more temple-y or college-y, they can kind of look alike sometimes. as one that probably is not, like, specifically learning the difference between, like, large temple buildings. The ones near you don't seem to be what you're looking for. You do see a building on the other side of the park that seems to be matching the description that Versel gave. Nearby to it, you do see another, like, little temple area that seems to actually have some religious symbolism on it.
I'm gonna climb back down, relay my knowledge. I think we need to go this way. That's all I can see from up there. I'm not sure.
Very well.
So I guess let's go.
So are you crossing the park to get there? Because
Is
Therzee,
there any other way?
Therzee, you know that you could walk around it if you wanted to, or you could go across it. It is like pretty much on the other side of the park from you. Not quite exactly, all perfectly on the other side, but pretty close to it.
Man, I don't see any reason why we should walk around.
I was thinking of avoiding the children. I can't stand children.
Yes, your human children are born quite undeveloped.
We just have to be sure not to poke them.
Okay.
Okay, so you're heading through the park. Yeah, the main route seems to take you by the area where the children are playing. You definitely get a sense that the number of the parents are eyeing you up as you're passing by. And after a little while, though, you will kind of see like a person on a strange two-wheeled device come moving up in some kind of uniform. Excuse me. Are you here for some kind of event?
We're here to go to the museum.
Yeah.
Is the museum having some kind of event?
I'm not sure. We haven't got there yet.
Why are you dressed like you are and carrying some weapons?
I traveled far to get here. I'm on a pilgrimage.
I mean, look, we're a little lax about travelers in this area with certain things here, but I'm gonna have to say you're okay out on the streets with what you're carrying, but in the public park here you're gonna have to I can give you escort across, but you're gonna have to not pass through the park again. We got weapons banned in the park specifically, just because a lot of children and stuff play here. If you are going to travel around in our city for any period of time, you're gonna have to stop by the police station and at least get your stuff registered. That you're in town.
How long will that take?
Maybe like an hour or two. There's no fees. I know some people travel for some of the more savage areas, we're a modern society, but there are still some areas out there where more monstrous things lurk. Can't get rid of all of them. So I know that, if you're on a pilgrimage, I'm assuming you're a little bit more of a area where you don't get into getting into guns and firepower as much. Look, I understand. They can be expensive to get a lot of weapons. Poor areas of the north. Look, but anyway, you gotta get them registered. We at least have to get your name, your basic information. Are you traveling with any ID?
ID?
What does that mean?
Right. Identification, something that says who you are.
I can say who I am.
Alright, look. I'm assuming your pilgrimage is taking you to the museum? Is that it? Are there any other places you're heading to in town? Here, let's walk and talk. As he's going to kind of turn around and kind of be pushing his two-wheeled device that he was riding on before.
Oh, he's on a Segway.
No. He was on a bicycle, thank you.
Yeah, a bike.
Oh, a bike, okay.
Yeah. If it was a Segway, it would be better. It would have been better, but no. Park Cop has a bicycle.
Okay. For a second, he was like pushing his two-wheel device for a second. I was like, oh gosh, is he on... Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. Where is this station of police? How far is it?
There's one in the area here. Most districts have at least one station in them. Look, you know what? I'm on patrol for a little while. I can call in that our guys are in the area in case I can't stop by. But how about this? If you're going to spend a couple hours at the museum, like 2 or 3, I get off shift around... Well, I'm getting back into my shift around then. I'll be heading back to the station. I can escort you there. That way you're not going to get lost. I'll call it in just in case I can't stop by. Or if you end early, maybe contact someone in the museum to do it. They're probably going to have you check in some of your stuff. Even if you're here for... Even if they've got something religious of you guys, or like, spiritual, that is in their collection, you're going to have to probably check in your things anyway at the door. I think they got a coat room at least. They should be putting in. I'll talk to them for you, okay? I knew it was going to be a weird day, but... So, what area do you hail from?
I am from the Shondlewood area.
Ooh, Shondlewood. Wow. I hear there's some pretty dangerous areas in that area still. I should have guessed, though. But I know lizard folk tend to have settled a couple other areas. Have you been by the lizard folk community in Newtown? You should stop by. You might not have any family there, but they might be. You might find some things, to your liking.
I doubt I have any family. A demon killed most of my family.
All right.
Poor copper.
I don't like. I mean, I'm not like. It doesn't look like I'm venting. I'm just being straightforward.
All right. Well, that's terrible to hear. I guess that's why you're on a spiritual pilgrimage, making up for the horrible loss of your family and all? Maybe?
Drug.
Right.
It was more of a choice of, well, let's just say my God helped me get revenge.
Oh, yeah. I figured when you said pilgrimage, you were a spiritual type. He's gonna take a look at the symbol on your the shield you kind of have, and I don't recognize that at all. Though I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with a lot of the religious groups. Not as many devout folks nowadays. Most folks follow the Church of All. I don't know if you're...
There are some deities which are pretty in conflict. How do they worship them all?
Oh, look, I don't know much about it. It's more of a general practice religion. Seeing all the aspects of the gods as aspects of one divine mass. Like the conflicts of a personality. That all the gods are interconnected or something. Again, I don't know much about it. It's a spiritual thing that seems to have come out, a while ago. If you're not familiar with it, probably it's not in your area. I know the Shamblewood's a little bit more outside of normal channels of information, but I'm sure that you've got at least one pilgrim in there at least at some point in time. I don't know. Your family's all dead. I don't know how long you've been without them, and if you are devout to your own god, then I can understand not hearing much about them. Anyway, they got a big building right there if you want to check out stuff of them.
I might. This intrigues me.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll be back in a couple of hours. If you're hanging around out here in that time, I'll try to bring you to the station. If not, try to get someone to call the local station. Just say that you need to stop by the local police station, and you are supposed to get an escort. What are your names, by the way?
My name is Vercel.
All right, Vercel. Well, welcome to Kalimport,
Mishka.
Vercel. Welcome to Kalimport, Mishka.
Therzee.
Welcome to Kalimport, Therzee. I hope all of you enjoy your stay. I hope that you find your spiritual or religious, whatever it is you're trying to find on this pilgrimage of your own, and I hope that you find your stay acceptable here in the town, and that we accommodate you as best you can here in town. Anyway, I'm going to be back to my patrol. Have a good one. And he's left you in front of the large building, which looks very familiar to you, Vercel.
Mm-hmm.
He actually does go up briefly to a man that's kind of standing on the outside of the building, kind of talks to him for a second, points you guys out, and then before he leaves. This man, which is an older half-elf, it looks like, he kind of walks down, and he's like, pilgrims, eh? Alright, come with me. The officer there was nice enough to explain your circumstances. We're gonna have to at least check in your weapons in our coat room. I'm sorry, but we might get them confused with... We got stuff like what you're carrying in exhibits on the museum, and you don't want anybody saying that you're stealing something, now do you?
I guess not.
Alright. He's gonna, like, kind of walk you in, which there's a large kind of room with a big skeleton of some kind of creature in the center of this large room. There's a number of, like, little desks with people kind of off to the sides. You can see that there's, like, vaulted columns, like a spiral staircase which leads up to a second floor. There are people kind of moving around, people coming into, like, the various desks and seemingly, like, checking in. There's a number of lines. To the one side, he will actually lead you over to what looks to be a small room with a, like, a little opening on the side of the room where someone is checking in. So basically almost like a back room of a shop or a tavern or something. Kind of a little unusual for leaving weapons, but... so look, you're the only people that we have dressed like this. So he's gonna kind of like mention the person over here. There's a human woman. Looks very young aged, probably like early 20s, late teens, kind of working in there. These folks here are some pilgrims. They're going to be leaving their equipment they left that they were on their walk with here. We want to make sure that they don't get messed up with the museum things. That's about it. You're actually lucky you came in today. Were you planning for it?
Well, this is the day that I was told to come here.
Well, then someone told you right. It's the third Sunday of the month. Free pass to the museum for anybody that comes in. Most of the museums in the district here do that. You can get in for free third Sunday of the month.
Convenient.
Yeah. Man, whoever told you to come here was a smart cookie. He will take your gear and kind of put it down in a pile. Yep. And then kind of leave it over to the one side for you. Mm-hmm.
What do we do to get them back?
Just check in with this nice lady here, and she'll be able to, take away, give you everything back you need here, okay?
Okay.
Excellent. I'm going to go back to where I need to be, out front. Feel free to enjoy the museum the best you want, and, if you need any kind of help, sure, just ask anybody. You still do have to check in at the desk, even though it's not going to cost you anything. He's going to actually kind of walk you out to the main room again and kind of point. Any one of those 4 desks there with little lines, just get in line, check in with the person there. They'll give you a pass. There are some special exhibits that will still cost you some money if you want to go check them out. They can also give you a little map of the museum and a schedule for any of the any of the special events if you want to actually participate in any of them. Well, I hope you folks find what you're coming here for your manner, and feel free to check out the rest of the exhibits. Very popular is the mythical beasts of Toril exhibit in the back, and the ancient cultures. So, yeah. All right then, he's gonna turn and leave.
Mishka looks at Rissa. Like, was there anything specific we're looking for?
Was there anything more specific in my
Oh
dream?
no.
Yeah, okay. I didn't think so. No, not that I know of. I assume we will find it. I assume it will be obvious when we find it.
Okay. Kind of just shrugs and goes along.
Okay. Are you getting in line?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, I'm just walking up to the front. Why?
You're like getting in front
why
of
are people standing? Why are there people standing in a row? I don't know.
It's like, hey, get in line. Excuse me, there. You're actually going to have to get in line with everyone else. They've been waiting patiently to get in.
This seems like I need the switch roll, but okay. So as I can't stand in the back of the line.
As the person will kind of like be checking in people, and then eventually we'll get to your group. Alright. Hi. Welcome. Welcome to the Museum of the Calimport Museum of Natural History. Here is a map. Please just sign the guest registry. We ask that everybody that comes in on this day sign the guest registry. And if you need any special exhibits that you want to get into or any kind of shows, just let me know. We can give you the extra charging right now, or if you want to later on, you'll have to get back in line. Or there's going to be a person back there behind the big old skeleton that you can check in with, and they will be able to give you the pass there.
I look up at the skeleton and I ask, don't you fear necromancers will use that?
Oh, yes. Well, technically speaking, it's illegal to use necromancy within the museum, and those that are published to the full extent of the law. Though, just in case, there are some actual enchantments placed upon the building when it was constructed to prevent necromancy within its walls. They also prevent divination and teleportation.
Huh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Though these days we haven't seen much of any of those, but I mean, she's gonna kind of like eye you up. I guess you're from an area that still uses some of that.
Well, I personally don't use necromancy, but I know of people that do.
I figured.
Do you have any of your special? Do any of your special exhibits feature relics of Asmodeus?
Asmodeus. You mean the religious relics? Yeah. So you're going to want to go to the Museum of the area of Ancient History. There is a section on religious artifacts. She's going to show you the map, pointed out there. Right there. That's where all of our religious artifacts keep. I think there is an actual small area dedicated to Asmodeus and some other more planner beings. that were worshipped. Hope that helps you.
It might.
I'm just walking away with my face in the map, just ignoring this woman completely.
Okay.
Mishka, like, nods nicely to her and does whatever she needs to, just, like, follows along. Being polite, somewhat.
Okay, yeah, you move on out. So, the map, she gave you some decent directions. It leads you through, into the second floor of the building, it looks like, so you can head up the stairs. Again, this statue looks unusual. It seems kind of almost, reptilian in nature, at least from some mistakes, but it looks a lot different from, like, a dragon. You're not sure. You've never seen anything quite like it. But eventually, though, you get into the upstairs areas, where the first kind of area you move into in these exhibits seems to be an area of arms and armor, which looks a lot similar to the stuff that you're carrying. There seems to be sets of armor from various different regions, areas like armor from, like, soldier... It seems a lot of soldiers' armor, it looks like, rather than personal stuff that maybe you'd be wearing. You can see armor from soldiers from various different regions. You know, there's someone from a soldier of, like, Waterdeep over there. One of them from Baldur's Gate. You know, from God. I have to remember my favorite countries off the top of my head, which is not going to happen. But regardless, a lot of different soldiers, different stuff you can be seeing. Yeah, one from, there's like Thayan armor, Coromir. That's the one I was trying to think of, Coromir. So definitely a good selection of them. Then it leads you into a area that it seems to be like two different displays. One of them seems to be on the Moonshae Isles and their various cultures. Then you move into an area that seems to have, like, looks like a lot of Choltian artifacts. And you have to think of Cholt as very, like, northern Africa, jungly, dinosaurs. So it's very interesting kind of culture in Cholt. And eventually, though, following your directions on the map, you will lead to a room that is filled with artifacts that seem to be of a religious nature. First of all, you definitely can recognize that without having to make any kind of check that these are various different religions. You can see some of, like, some of the main Faerun deities here. Like, you can see some stuff on things like Bane, Cyric. There's some stuff on Grumpsh, Mistra, Saloon, Soon, Talos, Torm, Tyr. You kind of can go through them all and kind of get a lot of different ones. Eventually, though, you do kind of, like, looking through it, kind of towards the back, almost as in a transition point, you see that, like, there's a bunch of stuff that seems to be artifacts that seem to be of a more fiendish nature. And some of them actually that look like they might actually be celestial in nature, but regardless, things from the outer planes. And sort of almost separating out between them and the area of the more common deities seems to be a small area deliberated to stuff to Asmodeus.
I'm going to look over that stuff.
Again, they're all, like, in cases and stuff, so you really can't easily access them, or, like, in displays.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, when I say look over, I was thinking, like, reading little descriptions and stuff.
Yeah. Some of these things seem to date back to before your cult. You actually do see that they're mentioning some years here. which is the first time that you've seen mention of years. And some of them date back to much earlier. You can see there's a display of like early Asmodean worship, where it seems to be like some ritualistic daggers, a couple of symbols that like it looks like you could turn the symbol over and it would be a different holy symbol, so you could almost like hide yourself. That because there were some other evil deities that were more mainstream, we'll say.
Yeah.
It seems like yeah,
Asmodeus was one of the more mainstream ones, but
by the time your age, but for a while.
Yeah, by the time, yeah. Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, but like, you definitely know that your cult was basically like a cult within a religious group, basically. You guys do that, though.
Mm-hmm.
You were a little bit extreme, even for most Asmodeus worshippers. Just saying.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. Most don't go around trying to summon aspects of their god.
No, they're most in traditional nowadays Faerun, we're like, we're all good for the lawful evil. Devils, yay. Anyway, so then you can see that it transitions to some things that are closer to your age. There's a number of artifacts. There's a number of items that seem to be from an age after yours. They seem to date them a couple hundred years after you knew the date was.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The oldest one seems to be about 540 years after you had been at. So you're sure that's at least how much time has traveled by, at very least.
You said 500?
Yeah. 540 years. There's an artifact that's dated from then. Which actually seems to be this elaborate medallion that seems to have almost like a depiction of the holy symbol of Asmodeus with a number of types of devils around it. The description says that it was once a magic item that lost all of its powers. It was said to be able to summon a number of devil servants to the side of whoever needed to be to assist them.
Interesting. So I don't seem to find anything like I don't find the eye or whatever it was that we were...
Nope. That's not here.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think it would be out of character, but in character I was totally like wondering if maybe he's just leading us directly to the eye. I turn around.
No one's there.
I look back at the amulet.
Hey! You're gonna have to poke this. Talk to one of the curators. They might allow you to poke it. Especially when some of the crowds are gone.
Is it in... It's in glass, right? You said?
Yeah. Don't break the glass. You're gonna have to actually get someone here. Don't want to make a scene.
Very well. I turn to one of the other people who look like they're... Okay.
There's probably like you've seen a couple of like a couple security people around. That's about it. There might be like someone like leading a tour. We'll say there's like probably a tour guide nearby. That's probably going to be happening. There's like a person like talking about a lot of these things to like a group of people.
Excuse me. Who would I have to talk to in order to get a closer look at one of these items?
That's not normally for someone at the museum. These are in displays for reasons, to keep them protected from people, just kind of eye you over. Are you here for a certain reason?
I'm on a pilgrimage. And one of these items in particular.
You might be able to get some permission. I can contact someone, but I can't guarantee it depending on the item. There might be some items in the back which might be more for pilgrimage people. If there's one in particular that you need to, you'd have to talk to whoever's in charge of the exhibits. And again, it will depend on a lot of reasons, but most of the time it's usually a no. But sometimes, you know, I can't guarantee you. But don't give your hopes up.
Well, if you could at least point me in the direction, I could at least see what I can do.
I will contact them and have them come out. Why don't you stand over to the side right there?
I stand over to the side, and I kind of also gesture over to Mishka and Therzee. Like, I found what I'm looking for kind of gesture.
Nisha comes over. What are we waiting for?
Well, I know what we came here to look for, but it is behind some glass, and well, a voice, I assume it was Zarin, told me to go through proper means.
What does that mean?
Ask people, as opposed to just smash the glass and take it.
Oh. Well, that's not fun.
Shrug.
Alright, so you'll be waiting a little while.
And I don't care if the person was standing right there. I would have said that.
So after a little while, a woman dressed in very fine, kind of like outfit will kind of come up to you.
What kind of woman? What race?
You notice that she seems to have reptilian-looking eyes. And you can see, like, there's some patches of scales on the sides of each of her head, on each side of her head.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, she looks fairly human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Were you the pilgrimage folk that were here to see some of the collection?
Yes.
Look, hi, my name is Professor Saris. Professor Mayan Saris. Perhaps I can be of assistance to you. I'm in charge of the part of the Sinister Deity collection.
Okay.
I'm here. You are interested in our Asmodean collection?
Yes.
I take it you're pilgrims of Asmodeus. We don't get many Asmodean worshippers at all in this area. I do hear tale that there are some left over. I myself am actually still a devout follower of Seth. But,
out of character, which one is that?
The chaotic evil deity of yuan-ti. So, if you weren't unsure, she's a yuan-ti pureblood, basically.
Oh, okay. Yuan-ti. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But, following such things is a lot different in these trying days, and if you were going to be here within the city, I would suggest we talk over to the side. There are a lot of things that we've had to adapt from our own cultures, and I'm sure you seem to be a little bit more from the boondocks, and I warn you that here in the city you have to adapt to changing times. As for myself, it's things like ritual sacrifices of small animals still is alright, but Things like humanoid sacrifices were outlawed long ago, so accept things like that. I assume Asmodeans don't worship any sacrifice.
Not particularly.
Well, you know.
Not usually, at least.
Perhaps you can actually inform me of some things for Asmodeans. Maybe we can have a trade. It's, in fact, interest in my own religious teachings that got me into the position I am now, of studying other, more dark religions.
Very well.
Now, which of these items was related to your pilgrimage? Was it one in particular, or was it one that, perhaps we can find something in the back which is a little less, fragile, that you might be able to use in its place?
Specifically, it was that amulet over there.
Ah, interesting. And do you know much about that?
Well, I do not. Well, what did the little plaque say? Beside.
It was like it's called like the Devil's Guidance. It was called. It was like a unique magic item that was created for a high priest of a Asmodean court at one point in time. It seems like one of the kingdoms was taken over by a group of Asmodeans for a while, and the high priest of the land forged this in order to help protect himself. So he could suddenly summon devils to be at his side if he needed to, if he was ever attacked.
Yes, it was that amulet over there. The one that, yeah.
Yes. Well. Why don't we go back and discuss this, and we can see about, maybe... Look, you're fortunate that, we might be able to arrange something for that, but I don't know if that would be until later on this evening, unfortunately, if you would be allowed to. Perhaps if you were able to trade some information. And do you have any objects that are still related to Asmodeus that would be antiques, maybe things passed on by your relatives?
Well, that may be a little complicated. Perhaps we can discuss this in private.
Yes. This way, please. She'll lead you to, like, a little back room area. It'll be through an area, like, into what looks to be some, like, workshop areas, and into, like, a little office. Please, sit down. This is my office. It's a little smaller than some of the others in the religious quarter, but, you know, I can see that more dark-themed deities are, I guess, popular in their own ways, but not usually for large exhibits. No one wants to put a big statue of Bane out there. Not that I suggested that. I suggested something a little bit more tactful, but my predecessor had suggested that. Anyway, look, the truth is, I'm not against you, at least observing the exhibit. Especially if for your own private ceremonies, we would be able to give you some privacy, as long as everything would check out. And it is one of our more hardier of the exhibits. It is metal-based. It's hard for you to destroy that one, and it is fairly newer than some of the older objects, so it isn't out of the realm of possibility. But I would have to convince my superiors that it would be a fine thing to do. Again, like a trade of information. If you have some information on the classic Asmodeans, maybe the religion or some of their cults or something. I'm assuming that your ancestors were probably in some of the minor cults. If you are surviving to nowadays, usually those have found more strength. It's different than like in my people, where most of us either give loose thanks to Seth or still worship him nowadays?
Well, I do happen to have some specific information about the worship of Asmodeus from, and I give whatever date we were from.
Mm-hmm.
What was the date we were from? Like,
oh, I have to remember the modern day. Let me give you a second. KV 5E Faerun date. All right. I think it's supposed to be 1491. Or around 1491.
mm-hmm.
Because that was when the Cult of the Elemental Evil rose up. The last incarnation of that. And that was, I think, was the Elemental Evil book in 5e.
Yeah.
So, yeah, around 1491. I could look around for the exact date according to their things.
I mean, that's fine. I could just say, like, I'm just going to recite when, I mean, it's really your decision, ultimately.
Yeah, we could say 1491.
Yeah. Of worship around 1491.
Oh, that's interesting date to have things going on. So, yeah.
I'm curious, actually, how much history you have on the raid that took place on an Asmodean cult that was actually not too far from here.
Give me a second here. She's actually gonna turn around and go to a bookshelf filled with all kinds of different tomes and stuff, and she's gonna look through them. Some of them look very worn, others look very new. Here, yes. It turns out that flipping through some pages, there is record of a group of paladins. Yeah, that did sound familiar. Yeah. Here, yes. A group of paladins of Torm, united with the Kalimport Watch, to do a raid on an Asmodean cult, in the year of 1491. Oh, I believe they're the Cult of the Ruby Eye. Yeah. Not much is known about the Cult of the Ruby Eye since then. They've shown up a couple of times in history after that, but in more minor situations, oftentimes working with other Asmodean cults. It's very interesting to see how the worship Asmodeus almost fractured in a way. And this is actually one of those points in time where the worship fractured a lot more after this event. I don't know if it's this event specifically, but around this time period. The cults went more underground, worshipping in their own dark ways, and the open religion of worship to Asmodeus took a place next to many of the other sinister deities, Talos, Bane, with worship not necessarily looked down upon in a good way in the public, but at least seen that you are would participate in society without disrupting it. Very interesting. I don't know much about what happened with the raid, though, but it was supposed to be in a area nearby, and
the location not known.
Yes, unfortunately.
Very well. Perhaps I could trade information about the location of this, where this cult hideout was. There could be artifacts there that interest you.
Would be very interesting. As she closes the book, kind of puts it down and kind of turns towards you, very closely looking. if I would be gained that information and I could send someone to this location, at least some preliminary scouts, some preliminary people to scout it out, it would be nearby in the nearby area, would it not? I agree, I think.
It would be.
So I probably could send someone in there. If you would... If it seems like it's going to pan out, I think I can get my superior definitely to allow you to have some time with the amulet after the museum closes. Why don't you share the information with me, and I will do my best to arrange everything with him. I can call him now if you want. I assume that your ancestors were members of the Cult of the Ruby Eye.
Yes, you could say that.
Alright. It's not exactly a lie, but it's not exactly the truth either.
I mean, Mishka's family.
Yeah, Mishka's definitely that would be true too. She's gonna get on pick up a thing that it looks very different than the phone you've been given. That's like some kind of like flat box. This is like something in your hand that you kind of hold up to your ear. It seems to be functioning the exact same way, but it looks very different than what you've been given for like this. And this also has like things strapped to it. She calls. It's like, hey, yeah, Rob, we got some people here that are pilgrims, and they're a minor member of a Asmodean cult. Seems like. They got some information which might be able to help with a big site nearby, one of the local histories that we never got into. We never discovered that. It's definitely left open. They just want some time with one of the artifacts for their religious ceremonies. Right? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, thanks. Alright, I'll let them know. If you give us information, we'll send someone up there. Rob thinks it's okay, as long as you're not doing anything that will tarnish or damage the artifact. As long as you're just using it as an object of worship, maybe it's fine to, like, grab it a little bit, hold it up, kind of things like that. We can leave you a small area where you can do your ceremonies in peace. There's like a meeting room you can use. We'll be willing to put it in there with you. As long as the object is back in one piece without any kind of damage, it should be okay. Just know that...
Is there anything I could roll to know if what I'm going to do is gonna cause it damage?
You have no idea.
Okay, there's no way I mean, okay.
So, where's the dig site?
I can... Yeah. And I will give directions based on...
Yeah. Memnon's Claw.
Based...
Memnon's Claw. There's old caves in there? That's always been looked upon as being pretty dangerous. The magical nature of the desert died down long ago, but some of the objects that were left in it have always seen as being mostly off limits to explorers and stuff. I don't think that cave's been discovered, unless it was... I'll check your exact coordinates. Maybe the entrance might be buried.
There should be a small... how do we get out? We just found a cave...
Yeah, you went out one of the entrances you had. It was open to a degree. There was some stuff in the way, but it wasn't awful. You easily got out without having to squeeze or anything. But I mean,
yeah.
If you looked at it, you could have easily said maybe some things fell out of the way recently.
Yeah.
You could say that. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I do know of a specific back route that they used, which
excellent.
You could use to get in.
I'll send someone up there. As I said, come back when the museum's closed, and as long as it looks to pan out, I'll send a couple of grad students up there to check it out, see what they can find. Yeah, excellent. If that's what we find, and we find some Asmodean artifacts, this will be great. This will be the big cultural hit of the year. I mean, it's been a while since I've had a really good dig site, and I'm really excited if this pans out. What did you say your name was?
Vercel.
Well, Vercel, I hope that we can continue a decent relationship. If we find anything of interest to your cult, I think it would be only proper that maybe we keep in contact. You have a phone? Are you going to be in the city long?
We do have a phone.
Excellent. Here. She's just going to take a little, like a little, Post-it note, like a little piece of paper, and, pick it up, seemingly, pulling it off of something, jot down some stuff on it, and give it to you. And you can notice that, the other side of it's sticky. It's a Post-it note. But it's oh, that's weird. There's a little sticky part on the top of it there. But it's got, her name and a number to reach her. That's the number here at the, that you can reach me, my office, and the extension. Make sure to exclude the extension when you call in. Or just ask for me by name. Great. I'll definitely want to keep in contact with you after here, even if you're not staying in town. Because if it's related to your cult, we might find something of significance to your family. And we want to respect that to the best of our degree.
Thank you.
Nod.
She nods, and then is fiddling with the Post-it note that's now stuck to her fingers.
Yeah. All right, and why don't we go on to our first break here? A little late, but we'll go on here as you're being probably... You could either spend more time in the museum or head out to go meet with the cops. Your choice, as you have to wait until later on to go talk to a imp. But anyway, if you need to quickly use the restroom, grab a drink, grab a snack, go and do it, and we'll be back in a few minutes. So, see you in a second, folks.